Alright, that looks pretty good, I think.
Yep, we're going. Welcome bowlers to the final match of the Maine Invitational Scratch Tournament in Brunswick, Maine. This is the tournament on February 9th, 2014. Our final match features Jay Mantere, who was our second-seeded bowler, rolling off against top-seeded bowler Joe Colcord. Joe chose to have Jay start the match on the left-hand lane, so here we go.
And today we featured two different ball patterns. On the left lane we had the longer pattern of Mexico City, and on the right lane we had Los Angeles. So we found that the lanes played very different. The transition made a lot of difference. Myself, Jimmy Clark here, we played the right lane, seemed to open up with a lot of hook to the right, and you had to definitely get the ball to the right to get it to hold pocket. Now the left lane, as it transitioned with a longer pattern, developed some hook, but it was early hook, so you had to be able to control it. These two guys seem to do very well at it, so that's why we're watching them.
Yeah, definitely, Jimmy. That Mexico City pattern is 45 feet, and the Los Angeles pattern, which was on our right lane, is a 36-foot pattern. Definitely was an interesting day, to say the least. Scores, of course, on the lower side, which for the M.I.S.T tournament is definitely not a surprise. We had 49 entries today, which means we had 12 cash qualifiers, and we'll run down those right now. 12th place with a 9.
Well, let's make it easy. For the first 4 games, James, it was really a lot of up and down and a lot of spare shooting. We had some new guys make the top 12, which made our shootout round, which definitely shuffled our bowlers around. A couple new guys that have made it. Dylan Davis, I believe it's his first time he made the cut. Al Snyder, who's not a new bowler to our tournament, but he was another one that made the cut. Jay Mantere, this is his first tournament, and he bowled very well to make not only the cut, but to be in our top 4 and then in our championship match here. But as far as the 5-game, the shootout, we had some shuffling around.
Yeah, 12th place was Alan Snyder with a 907. 11th place with a 930 was Joe Kenny. We had a tie for 10th and 9th between Dylan Davis and Scott Moore with a 948. 8th place with a 955 was Bob Nile. 7th with a 957 was Jimmy Clark. 6th with a 964, Josh Greenlaw. 5th place, and just missing our top 4, was last month's champion Sarah Pelletier with a 972. And our top 4 today qualifiers were Steve Clausaway with a 975. 3rd qualifier, Joe Ramsdell III with a 981. 2nd qualifier, Jay Mantere with a 999. And top qualifier, Joe Colcord with a 1030.
So with the different patterns, you have to see with the scores that we've had that they definitely played tough and really made you show some toughness mentally and as far as throwing good shots, with only one player being plus for the day.
Let's just did over the course of 5 games, we had the best scratch bowlers in Maine and beyond, because we had Jay coming to us from New Hampshire and another bowler coming from Massachusetts today. So it was really a lot of fun, a lot of diversity with bowling styles, and on the 2 different oil patterns, you definitely get to see a little bit of everything today. I found on the left side that if I really took some hand out of it, really tried to play the outside part of the lane, was really the best part of the lane to play. I had a pearl ringer pinned down, about a 6-inch pin for me, and the best look I had on the long pattern was with a Brunswick Mastermind, about a 4¼ inch pin for me at box surface. So it's the left side, a little bit less traffic. It never really, the long pattern never really opened up a ton, but it definitely helped us, I think, on the short pattern where we didn't have a lot of that middle lane hook like the righties had to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, on the right side, there was quite a few more players, so you definitely saw transition play into it. The right pattern had a lot of hook, and you normally want to stay to the right on the short patterns, but with all the traffic, you were forced to play in to start the ball. You still needed to get your break point to the right, which these 2 players here were very successful at, and the left pattern generated a hook spot in the middle, which so you were able to kind of throw to it to kind of get the lanes to open up almost a little. These 2 guys, really good shot makers. They both play with similar game plans. They would rather play the lanes a little bit straighter, opposed to moving in and really kind of opening them up or wheeling it, as I'd like to say. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this match plays out. They're both going to want to stay a little farther right. in their heads and their game plan they're going to. Unfortunately, the lane conditions are going to force them in and make them make good shots. So we'll see what happens here. This could be very interesting.
Well, as I said, Jimmy, you got these guys, and there's a lot of games on these pair of lanes today. There's been 2 matches before this, plus the 4 games of qualifying before these championship round. So the track area and the outside part of that track area really getting beat up. And the middle part of the lane, of course, with the little bit flatter oil patterns, doesn't have a lot of hold to begin with. So it definitely makes a different dynamic. And how deep can you get and still get pin carry is really the question at this point.
Yeah, especially on that short pattern. As you watch Jay make that single pin, during the little warm-up here, both bowlers were allowed to throw 3 balls on each lane, and both bowlers, again, tried to move way right and play the very far part of the outside of the lane to see if they could get reaction, and neither one of them was able to have anything successful there. So as you can see from their shot so far, that they have moved in a little and chose to kind of throw the ball to the right instead of starting it there. But on this long pattern, they're both inside trying to bump to the dry.
And as you can see right there with Jay trying to get to that spot and it just checked up early, in the inside part of the lane, there just isn't a lot of hold at this point of the day. A lot of guys have been migrating in further and further, and as that happens, you're going to beat up even the inside part of the lane too. So now you try to go outside and straighter, which Jay tried in warm-ups, and the ball never finished for him. He was using looked like an endless nightmare. And just the ball just would not come up for him on the outside of the second arrow. Which, as you know, in these patterns, the outside boards normally on a house shot don't have a lot of oil on them, so you can get out there and swing it and bump it off. These patterns here are just the opposite. You swing it, it's not going to recover, especially on a longer oil pattern. Usually the inside part of the lane is where you want to be on these patterns.
Yeah, the Mexico City pattern, which was on the left lane, as you just saw Jay throw it, just started to develop hook early. So when you get early hook, it's forcing you to play a little farther left and try to get away from that early hook so you can still get the ball to react down lane and get some pin carry. As Jay threw that one there, it just got to that hook spot a little early and it read early. It's going to be interesting to see how these 2 players combat him. As we can see, Joe's moved quite a ways left on the short pattern, so he's going to try to throw it right and get it to that hook later.
Yeah, you watch, he's going to loft it a little bit. No, laid it down a little earlier. See, in warm-ups, he was trying to loft it. I think he was trying to maybe delay the roll a little bit, but now he's up against the ball return, laying it back down early again.
Yes, but as you notice, his projection is quite a bit to the right to make sure the ball gets right, because with that short pattern, if you don't get it right, it's definitely going to go through the nose, or maybe even Brooklyn, which for some bowlers today, Brooklyn has been their friend.
Absolutely, Jimmy. And so on that note, we'll go over the scores of our first championship round game, where Steve Clauseway won the match over Joe Ramsdell III, 227 to 154. And then in our semifinal match, Jamie Mantere defeated Steve Clauseway 189 to 160 to set up this match of our first-time Miss bowler, Jamie Mantere, and Joe Colcord. Jamie Mantere actually runs his own tournament. It's the Northeast Amateur Tournament, the NAT. I'm sure a lot of our bowlers have heard of it. Some of our Miss bowlers actually bowl in Jay's tournaments, and he has one coming up next Sunday.
As we can see, Joe moved quite a bit farther left there. He made a little bit of an adjustment. Now, he didn't see a lot of distinct hook in the back end there, but by playing the lanes with a longer pattern, you have to kind of rely on a little bit more of an early hook and let the ball kind of set up on the backside, which he did there. You didn't see a lot of reaction on the back end, but as you can see with the result from the shot, the ball did what it needed to do through the pins and was very, very successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just update people on the scores here. Joe Colcord, who was down 11 there in the second, with 27 in the second, doubles to get within 1 pin. Jay Mantere has 38 in the second, a spare in the third. Let's see if he can take advantage in the
nice shot. It looks like Jay has migrated in a little farther. He's using a Karma Pearl, which is a little bit older ball from Brunswick, but it's still a very successful when it matches up with the lane conditions. Jay was able to use that all day today. I got the advantage of crossing with him today, and he made very good shots, which is key on patterns like this. But he was able to tame the lanes down on the short pattern with that Karma, and was still able to get it to tip just enough on the longer pattern to carry to get him to the points where he's at right now.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Jimmy. Definitely a little weaker ball that you can get a little more hand in, a little more natural release, rather than taking a stronger ball and maybe having to try to back off your release, which can get a little over-under. I know if I take a weaker ball, I feel more comfortable using a weaker ball and really getting my hand around it. than trying to lay off the release. And that was a really good ball in that left lane by Jay.
Yeah, so you can see Jay made the same move as Joe. They moved a little farther left, took a little bit of that back end reaction out, and kind of let the ball read a little through the mid lane and kind of just set up on the back end, which is a great move on this longer pattern. I think these guys here look like they're settling in on these patterns, and we could see some big scores here.
Absolutely. You just saw Jay, who Joe had cut his lead down to 1 pin. He steps up and doubles right behind Joe's double and says, "Take that, Joe. I'm taking my 11-pin lead back." So now he puts the pressure back on Joe to come up.
Yeah, we've got two great players here. Again, they both have similar game plans and mental aspects on how they play the game, play the lanes. They both have the ability to move in and really wheel and deal and open the lanes up. So with these tougher patterns, it's what they're kind of gunning for, even though both players would rather play straighter.
Nice shot there by Joe. As you can tell, he made that move on the right lane, committed to it in the last 2 shots. High flush, great balls. Just wanted to let everyone know, next month's M.I.S.T tournament is our season finale tournament. It's going to be on March 9th at Spare Time Recreation Center in Lewiston, Maine. Same time, 10 o'clock a.m. Check-in time is 9 o'clock a.m., an hour before the tournament. Cost is $50. And we'll crown a new bowler of the year after that tournament. And of course, our bowler of the year wins their choice of bowling ball from Moore's Pro Shop, professionally drilled by the pros at Moore's Pro Shop. Call and make your next appointment, 207-754-9395. You can ask for Scott, Jimmy, or James, or Kenny.
And now, bringing up the bowler of the year, James, we have Joe Colcord here in our final match, and with a victory here, he will actually move himself a lot closer to last year's champion, Joe Ramsdell, who had a big lead coming into this tournament, but with a victory by Joe, we could actually see a pretty tight race coming down to the last tournament.
Absolutely. Joe Ramsdell could have just walked it away here with a victory. He lost in that first match, finished in 4th place. Really opened the door for Joe Colcord. Joe Colcord has to win out, though. He has to win this tournament, make a good showing in the last tournament, and hope for Joe Ramsdell to maybe not have as good of a tournament as he's been having. So this match here is great, Jimmy. I mean, you got Joe Colcord now on a 4-bagger, chop that lead back down to 1 pin again, and let's see if Jay can extend that lead back to 11 right here.
Yeah, as it looks, Jay might be a little farther right than Joe is on the lane on the right lane, but I think with the little bit weaker equipment, bad break there, but he's got a great look to the pocket too. I mean, these two bowlers here, they're high caliber bowlers. They're very good at making shots, very good at reading the lanes, very good at matching up with their equipment. So this is definitely going to be a matter, I think, of carry and not really finding a good look. They both look like they've attacked the lanes pretty much the same. I can't say it again, but both bowlers have the same game plan as far as trying to play a little straighter, and it almost looks like they're reading the lanes off of each other.
There's a nice spare right there by Jay. Just to let you know, of course, the M.I.S.T tournament supports other tournaments in the area. On the weekends, M.I.S.T isn't bowling. And Jay Mantere's tournament, the Northeast Amateur Tournament, will be at Gardner 10-pin lanes in Gardner, Mass. next Sunday, February 16th. His tournament is a $1,500 first place prize with 150 entries and a $60 entry fee. For the singles tournament, squads are at 10 o'clock and at 12:30. And if you want more information about the NAT, you can go on their website, www.natbowlsite.com, or contact number is 978-265-9257.
Yeah, as us competitive bowlers, we like to look to bowl in any tournaments we can. And with Jay's tournaments here, he's took the initiative to set this tournament up and get it run. He, I believe, has a Brunswick sponsor also. So it's nice to see that these guys are looking to try to promote our sport, which is what everybody should be doing. Our sport that sometimes has its ups and downs, and the more we can push to get more bowlers out bowling, the better we're going to be.
Absolutely, Jimmy. I agree with you 100% there. For now, this is the situation here. It's an even match right now with that spare by Jay. Joe can step up here and take a 20-pin lead if he can double in the next 2 shots.
Yeah, we're going to see what Joey does. I think that the right lane is actually going to be the key lane for everyone, because there is so much friction and so much hook on lane 30. The two bowlers are forced to play in on this short pattern, so anything inside is going to be a little bit too much. You don't have a lot of hold area on this lane here, so good shots are definitely at a premium.
Joe's against the ball return, so he's going to have to make an adjustment right with his target, and that one come high on him, leaving in the 610. Looked like that one, he just got a little slow on it and didn't quite get it projected out like he had been, Jimmy.
Yeah, as you can see, that short pattern, again, if you're not quite really firm with the speed and get the ball to your break point down lane, it's going to go through the nose. There's definitely not a lot of forgiveness. Lane 29, they might be able to get away with a little tug because of the length of the pattern, but lane 30 with Los Angeles on it, especially out with the transition, we've now up to, this is going to be the 7th and 8th games being thrown on it as far as our tournament. And during the qualifying round, we had 3 people to a lane, so 6 to a pair. So the lanes definitely got chewed out.
And that was a big chop on that spare by Joe. I mean, he had an 8-pin lead if he makes the spare going into the 8th frame. Now goes behind by 4 pins, depending on what Jay does in his next shot.
Yeah, and again, Los Angeles is playing tricky there. I said the right lane's going to be key. Joe expected probably a little more hook there and ends up chopping the 10-pin off the 6, where expecting a little hook to make that spare. Now not quite getting it. The lane pattern is playing into effect here. So we'll see if Joe can capitalize here and try to come back and throw a strike, get back in the match.
Yeah, really key point in the match here. Right now, down 4 pins to Jay. Got a strike in the 8th here, I believe, Jimmy, to really try to put that heat back on him.
Yeah, he's got to try to stay in this match. Like I said, lane 29, both players look like they have a really good look. There's a little hook to the right, which makes you relax as a bowler. When you know you've got a little bit of drive to the right, it kind of gives you a little bit of sense of security. And so lane 29 with that length, you've got a little bit of hook to the right and a little bit of tug area. It gives the bowlers a little chance to relax, throw good shots. Now the right lane here, we'll see what Jay does. Jay needs to capitalize on the tough lane.
Absolutely. Jay come up last time on this lane, left a rack 10-pin, sitting on a 4-pin lead right now. But if he can strike here, he can extend that lead to 14 pins after 8 frames. So big shot. Big ball there. Nice high flush shot. I think it kind of faced up just a little bit quicker than the last one that left that rack 10. That ball, I have no doubt about it. That was definitely 10 back.
It almost looked like Jay kept that in a little more, but it almost also looked like he had a little more ball speed on it. Like James said, to get it to face up a little more and get rid of that ringing 10 as he left on the last lane. Great adjustment, and maybe whether it was an adjustment or not, it was still a great shot by Jay.
Yeah, so he extends that lead to 14 pins going into the 9th. He can extend that to 24 pins here and really put a ton of pressure on Joe. It's really going to force Joe to step up in the 9th and 10th and perform.
Yeah, if he can strike here, he's going to put the pressure on Joe to get up there and do nothing but strike. So if Jay can throw a strike here, there's no way Joe can shut him out.
All you want as a bowler is to be able to step up in the 10th frame with a chance to win a match. There's nothing worse than getting up there with no shot. So Jay can guarantee that if he strikes right here, he cannot be shut out.
And again, Jay right there on that left lane, there's a little more room to the right because of the length of the pattern and the way it's broken down. He got that one a little right at target, and it still found the friction set up, and he got the results he was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely, Jimmy. That ball come up, faced up nice. That was a beautiful shot. Extends that lead to 24 pins. Now the situation here for Joe is simple. He has to strike. If he doesn't strike here in the 9th frame, this match isn't over, but it's on life support.
Yes, exactly what you said, James. Joe Colcord, being our #1 seed coming in, has the odds against him. Our #1 seeds this year and in past seasons have not had the best record. Maybe it's sitting on the bench. Maybe it's the #1 seed. Either way, Joe's got to throw some strikes here and see if he can put a little pressure on Jay to perform in the 10th.
Oh, gets the nice roll, gets the head pin off the wall, gets the scout coming across, the bird dog, whatever you want to call it. Great shot there. Looked like last time he had gotten in a pinch, a little soft, went through the face. Definitely made I don't think he even made an adjustment. I think he just trusted his shot and knew where he had to throw it and got the pin carry. That was a nice ball.
I agree with you, James. He definitely got that ball to the right, like you said, and initially you could see the 6-pin kind of died in the gutter, but with Joe's power, his rev rate, his speed, everything that Joe's got to put behind the ball, he got that message to come across to give him still give him a chance. And now he's here in the 10th frame. I'm going to believe that this is Joe's favorite lane. He chose to finish on this lane. So I'm going to believe Joe's going to put some strikes here and try to put some pressure on Jay.
absolutely. It's top seed. Sometimes this is where that decision is so crucial. You know, you're either picking offense or defense. I think Joe picked his favorite lane to finish on, and we'll see if that is definitely the key right here.
Joe looked like he kind of steered that a little bit. He didn't kill himself. He still needs to make this spare, but he definitely made it a little easier on Jay.
Yeah, that extends Jay's lead back up to 16 pins. We'll see. With a spare, he'll be 191 in the ninth. He can strike on that for 211. Still gonna, if he spares and strikes, he's gonna force Jay to go clean in the 10th, though.
Yeah,
Jay can't come up and go 5 count or anything like that.
No, Jay, with being a good bowler, I'm sure he's doing the math in his head right now, knowing that with a tough break there, we know Jay's just going to have to get out and kind of stay behind the foul line, throw at least a good shot so he can get the ball in the pocket and give himself a chance to stay clean.
Yeah, with that open right there, that pretty much ends the match. All Jay has to do is get pin count. He's already counting into the 180s in the 8th frame right now, so yeah, it's pretty much over. He just stayed behind the foul line on 2 shots, and Jay's going to walk away with I think the first time that we've ever had our first time miss bowler coming in and winning a tournament since Clayton Schwartz did that, I believe, in our 2nd season. So that was 3 years ago. Out-of-state bowler coming in, winning the tournament, which is good. You know, we like to extend our reach all throughout New England and beyond, and great that Jay come in here today and bowl well.
Even though that wasn't the greatest shot, Jay, I would have to assume, knew he did not need to throw the best shot in the world, so he kind of just played it safe and got the ball close to the head pin. You know, when you're not needing to throw the strikes to win a match, it's better to play it a little safe and keep the ball around the head pin and get some good count.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Jay did there.
Absolutely, Jimmy. You just want to get pin count. You just want to finish out the frame, and you know that 8 pins is more than enough to win the match. So, you know, Jay Mantere is going to come into the Maine Invitational Scratch Tournament in his first tournament and be a tournament champion.
And hopefully this will maybe broaden the horizon for some of our out-of-state bowlers and give them a little incentive to come out. So we'd like to congratulate Jay Mantere on his M.I.S.T tournament victory today over Joe Colcord. Congratulations, Jay.
Yep, congratulations, Jay, on a 213 to 199 victory over Joe Colcord. Thank you, everyone. For Jimmy Clark, I'm James Goulding III, and we'll see you next month in Lewiston.
Thank you, Dean.